Welcome back for another deep dive. Ever imagined listening to an audiobook narrated by, let's say, someone who never actually recorded it?
Sounds pretty futuristic, right?
Well, that's exactly the kind of potential we're talking about today with this new approach to speech synthesis.
Call cock.
SALAD.
Yeah, okay, salad.
Short for speech synthesis with autoregressive latent diffusion.
Catchy.
Definitely rolls off the tongue. Anyway, we've got this research paper all about SALAD, and it's seriously challenging how we think about creating these synthetic voices.
Yeah, the really cool thing about salad, I think, is that it uses continuous representations of audio.
Continuous.
Yeah, instead of breaking it down into those little pieces like we used to.
So instead of that kind of robotic, choppy voice, we're getting something smoother, closer to like actual human speech.
You got it. See, traditional methods, they've always had this problem, right? Imagine you're trying to recreate this beautiful painting, but all you've got are these square blocks.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You can get the general idea, sure.
The basic
But you're never going to perfectly capture those original curves and details.
You're going to miss the nuances.
Exactly. And that's kind of like what it's been like trying to recreate audio using these discrete chunks.
So it's like salad is swapping out those blocks for something more like, what, Clay? Something you can mold the sound with more naturally?
That's a great way to put it, yeah. It's all about preserving those nuances that make speech sound natural.
Makes sense.
And that's where this per token latent diffusion model comes in.
Yeah, I remember this from the paper.
Oh, you've read it?
Definitely.
Awesome. So it's like, imagine taking a blurry image and, slowly bringing it into focus.
Each sound gets its own little mini makeover. Smooths out the rough edges.
Precisely. And this level of detail, well, makes some pretty amazing things possible.
Right.
Like zero-shot text-to-speech.
Zero-shot text-to-speech.
Yeah, so imagine being able to synthesize speech in anyone's voice.
Okay.
Even if the system has never actually heard them speak before.
Yeah. Hold on. So you're telling me I could have a bedtime story read by, let's say, Oprah.
Oprah.
Yeah, just as an example, even though she's never recorded one, just from a short sample of her voice, that sounds like science fiction.
It's not science fiction anymore. And a big part of what makes this possible, well, are these things called semantic tokens?
Semantic tokens.
Right. Think of them like little packets of information.
Okay.
But they capture not just the sound of someone's voice, but the meaning behind their words.
So it's not just mimicking how someone says, like, hello.
Right.
It's understanding the intent, the emotion.
The pauses.
The pauses. All the things that make us sound, well, human.
Exactly. It's like giving the system, I guess you could say, emotional intelligence.
Fascinating.
Right. It helps it understand the context and deliver a much more natural, engaging performance.
That's incredible. Now, I remember the paper talked about 3 different flavors of salad.
Flavors?
Yeah, like 3 variations, each with its own unique way of using these semantic tokens.
Oh, right. The different models, yeah.
Yeah. Can you break those down for us?
Absolutely. So the first one, it's called T2A, stands for Text-to-Acoustic.
Text-to-Acoustic.
This is kind of the most straightforward approach.
Okay.
You feed it text, it uses those semantic tokens to generate, well, the corresponding audio.
And then there's S2A-AR, Semantic-to-Acoustic Autoregressive. Oh, what's the autoregressive part all about?
So autoregressives means the system basically predicts each bit of audio based on what came before it.
Interesting.
It's like predicting the next word in a sentence.
You use the previous words to guess what's coming next.
Exactly.
Oh.
And this approach allows salad to create speech that flows naturally, like a real conversation.
Got it. That makes sense.
And finally, we have S2A-NA.
S2A-NA.
Semantic-to-Acoustic, but non-autoregressive.
Non-autoregressive. So instead of predicting one piece at a time, it's doing things a bit differently.
Yeah, so with the NAR model, it tries to generate multiple pieces of the audio simultaneously. Yeah, think of it like trying to solve a jigsaw puzzle, but you're putting together several pieces at once instead of one by one.
Oh, I see. So it could be faster.
Potentially, yeah.
But more challenging to keep everything coherent and high quality.
That's the trade-off.
And of course, the researchers wanted to see how these different approaches stacked up against the traditional discrete methods.
Right, the old way.
So they created discrete versions of each salad variant and had a real audio showdown.
A battle of the bands, but for speech synthesis.
Exactly. They compared these models across 3 key areas: intelligibility, quality, and speaker similarity.
Makes sense.
Intelligibility meaning like how easy it is to understand what's being said, right?
Yep, exactly. And in this category, well, the continuous T2A model really shined.
Interesting.
It produced the clearest, most understandable speech.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's super important if you're thinking about things like voice assistants or accessibility tools.
You don't want your voice assistant to sound like it's mumbling.
Exactly.
And how did the models do when it came to the, I guess, overall quality, like how natural and pleasing the speech sounded?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Both the continuous and some of the discrete models, they produced speech that was like incredibly close to the real deal.
Wow.
It was almost impossible to tell the difference, even for someone with a trained ear.
So we're talking about synthetic speech that sounds not just understandable, but also natural and pleasant to listen to.
Absolutely. A huge step forward in making synthetic speech more, well, engaging and realistic.
For sure. Now, what about speaker similarity? How well did these different salad variations capture the the unique characteristics of the target speaker's voice?
Well, there was a bit more variation here.
Okay.
Sometimes the discrete models, they did a better job of capturing those individual nuances, but it often came at the expense of, the overall quality.
I see. So it's like trying to perfectly imitate someone's accent.
Right.
You might nail the accent, but the words themselves might not sound as clear.
Exactly. It's like this balancing act between, capturing the unique qualities of a voice and maintaining that overall clarity and naturalness.
And that's one of the ongoing challenges in this research.
Definitely. Finding that sweet spot where the synthesized speech sounds both authentic and high quality.
Now, there was this one detail from the paper that really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
The researchers decided to, crank things up a notch.
Oh.
And test Salad with even higher fidelity audio representations.
Higher fidelity.
Think of it like going from standard definition video to, ultra high definition.
Okay, yeah.
What happened when they fed the system all that extra audio information?
Well, this is where we start to see a glimpse of the future, I think.
Oh, exciting.
It turns out the continuous models were much better at handling this richer audio data compared to their discrete counterparts.
Interesting.
Yeah, the discrete models, they almost seem to get bogged down by all those extra details.
Like they were choking on information overload.
That's a great way to put it.
So it's like those back roads we talked about earlier, they just weren't equipped to handle all that extra traffic.
Precisely. This really suggests that continuous representation might be more robust and adaptable, especially as we keep pushing towards higher and higher audio quality.
So it sounds like continuous representation is winning the race so far.
It's looking that way.
But remember that surprising finding about randomness?
Randomness.
The idea that letting the model make some random choices actually led to better results.
Oh, yeah. That was unexpected.
It is surprising, right? You'd think that a more, deterministic approach would lead to better results.
Makes sense.
But it seems like a bit of randomness actually helps the system explore a wider range of possibilities.
Like shaking up the snow globe and seeing what interesting patterns emerge.
Exactly. Sometimes a little bit of chaos can lead to, beautiful results.
I like that.
So just to recap, we've talked about how Salad uses these continuous representations to create more natural sounding speech. We've talked about how it leverages these semantic tokens to understand the meaning behind the words and how it compares to those traditional methods.
And we touched on how it performs with high fidelity audio and even explored the role of randomness in that whole generation process.
That's a lot to take in.
It is a lot, yeah.
But it's clear that Salad is really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in speech synthesis.
Absolutely. This research opens up a world of possibilities.
Why?
Think about more human-like voice assistants or personalized audiobooks.
Oh, that's cool.
Even new forms of creative expression.
So many possibilities.
And speaking of possibilities, the paper digs into some of the more technical aspects of how Salad actually works.
Okay, like what?
Like the concept of classifier-free guidance.
Yeah.
And the role of noise scales and diffusion steps in fine-tuning the models.
Right.
And then there's that whole debate about, discrete versus continuous audio representation and whether those fine-grained details are actually helpful or just adding noise.
So much more to unpack.
We've only just scratched the surface. We'll dive into those details and explore some of the broader implications of this research in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
Stay tuned. All right, so picking up where we left off, let's dig a little deeper into some of the technical stuff with Salad.
Yeah, we got a taste of how continuous representation and semantic tokens are really changing the game.
Right.
But the paper also mentioned things like classifier-free guidance, noise scales, diffusion steps.
It does. It does.
Sounds a bit like a recipe for a very complex sonic cake.
Uh-huh. A perfect analogy. These are like the fine-tuning ingredients, you know. They let the researchers control the output of the Salad model and really push the boundaries.
So like with this classifier-free guidance, SFG, right?
It helps shape the synthesized speech to more closely resemble the target speaker's voice.
So it's like having a voice coach for the AI, gently nudging it towards a more accurate imitation.
Exactly. Like saying, hey, pay attention to this part of the voice. It's really important for capturing this speaker.
And you can adjust the strength of this guidance.
You can.
Find that balance between capturing the speaker's identity and maintaining that natural high fidelity sound.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
It really is. It's like an art fine-tuning these models.
Like a sculptor shaping their creation.
Yeah, I like that.
What about the noise scales and diffusion steps? Those sound, I don't know, a bit more abstract.
So imagine you have this perfectly clear audio recording.
Okay.
And you start adding noise to it, bit by bit.
Okay.
Until it becomes almost unrecognizable, just static.
Gotcha.
And that's essentially what's happening with the noise scales in these diffusion models.
Okay.
The system then has to learn how to reverse this whole process, gradually removing that noise to reconstruct the original audio.
So it's like a game of sonic hide and seek. The AI has to find the hidden audio within all that noise.
Precisely. And the diffusion steps, those refer to the number of times this noise adding and noise removing process is repeated.
So the more steps, the finer the control, the more refined the final output.
You got it.
But the paper also hints at a deeper debate, right?
It does.
This whole discrete versus continuous representation thing, and whether capturing every tiny audio detail is always a good thing.
Yeah, we talked about how continuous representation allows for that more natural sounding speech.
Right.
But some researchers argue that, hyper-focusing on every little detail might actually be counterproductive.
So like adding too much detail to a painting could actually make it look less realistic.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot, capturing the essence without getting lost in the noise.
And that's where the Salad research gets even more interesting, right?
It does.
Because they actually tested the models with different levels of audio fidelity.
They did.
Comparing how continuous and discrete models performed with all that extra information. And what did they find? Did those super detailed audio representations actually lead to better results?
Well, one of the most interesting findings was that the discrete models really struggled more than the continuous ones when dealing with all this richer audio data. It was almost like they were getting overwhelmed by all the detail.
So like those backroads we talked about earlier, they just weren't equipped to handle all that extra traffic.
Exactly. This suggests that continuous representation might be more robust and adaptable, especially as we move towards higher and higher audio quality.
It's like continuous representation is winning the race so far.
So far, it seems that way.
But remember that surprising finding about randomness? Letting the model make some random choices actually led to better results.
I do. It's fascinating, isn't it?
You'd think a more deterministic approach would, be better.
You would, but sometimes a little bit of serendipity can lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
So maybe there's a lesson in there for us humans, too.
Maybe embrace a little chaos, right?
Explore those unexpected pathways.
Who knows what we might find?
Now, while we're celebrating all the potential of Salad,
right,
the researchers are also honest about some of its limitations.
They are.
One thing that stood out to me was the discussion of speed. This whole diffusion process, with all the noise adding, noise removing steps, seems like it could be a bit slower compared to the traditional methods.
Yeah, it's true. The diffusion process, it's iterative. It requires multiple steps to refine the output.
Okay.
And that makes it more computationally intensive.
More computationally intensive.
Potentially slower.
So it's a trade-off then.
In a way, yeah, you get more realistic, nuanced speech, but it might take a bit longer.
Like comparing a handcrafted artisan product to something mass-produced.
That's a good way to put it.
The artisan product might take longer, but the attention to detail, the overall quality, often worth the wait.
I agree.
I'm also curious about this mask GIT procedure.
Mask GIT?
Yeah, the paper talks about how it impacts those non-autoregressive models.
Right.
Right, sounds pretty complex. It is a bit technical, but essentially, Mask-GIT, it helps the non-autoregressive model fill in the gaps when it's generating multiple pieces of audio simultaneously.
Okay, so imagine trying to complete a jigsaw puzzle, but some pieces are missing.
Exactly.
Mask-GIT helps the model make educated guesses about what those missing pieces might look like based on the surrounding context.
It's like an AI detective.
Piecing together the clues.
To complete the sonic puzzle.
I like that.
And the researchers actually found that increasing the number of those Mask-GIT steps actually led to improvements in both speaker similarity and audio quality.
So it's like giving the AI detective more time to gather evidence, refine their deductions.
Exactly.
Sounds like there's a lot of potential for optimizing these non-autoregressive models, especially as we develop more sophisticated techniques like Mask-GIT.
Definitely.
But speaking of optimization, the paper also mentions this challenge of balancing the discrete and continuous losses in the T2A model.
Right, the T2A model.
What does that mean exactly? So remember how the T2A model combines the text and those semantic tokens to generate the audio?
Yeah.
There's this delicate balance between making sure the model accurately represents both the textual information and the continuous audio representation.
So you need to make sure the model is not only saying the right words, but also saying them in a way that sounds natural, that reflects the speaker's style.
Exactly. Finding that optimal balance, well, it's still an ongoing challenge.
Makes sense.
But it's an essential part of creating, truly convincing and expressive synthetic speech.
So even with these limitations, it's clear that SALAD is a major breakthrough, right? It's not just like a small improvement, it's a fundamental shift.
It really is, yeah. And it's not just about the technical achievements.
It's about the potential this research unlocks.
Exactly.
It's like we're talking about a future
where
we can interact with technology in more natural, intuitive ways.
Absolute.
Where accessibility is enhanced and where creative expression takes on these like new forms.
I completely agree.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. But with such powerful technology, I mean, it comes with great responsibility, right?
Absolutely. We need to be mindful of the potential for misuse.
So it's not just about making the technology better, but using it ethically and responsibly.
I've said it better myself.
We need to consider the potential impact on, jobs, privacy.
Even the very fabric of human communication.
This is a conversation we need to have as a society, ensuring that these advancements actually benefit humanity as a whole.
Well said. I completely agree.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the nitty-gritty technical details to those broader ethical considerations.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
Absolutely. But there's still more to come.
Oh.
In the final part of our deep dive, we'll delve even deeper into the future of speech synthesis.
Sounds good.
We'll explore some of the most exciting potential applications and ponder what lies ahead.
I'm looking forward to it.
Stay tuned. It's amazing, right? As we've been talking about SALAD, I keep thinking about how this research, it's not just about replicating sounds.
It's more than that, yep.
It's like they're trying to teach AI to actually understand what it's saying.
It's a good point. Look at those semantic tokens.
Right. Those semantic tokens.
They're not just about the sound.
It's the meaning, the intent.
Exactly. It's like, think about it this way. Someone reciting a speech verse is actually feeling those words.
It's a different level.
It is.
And it just makes me wonder, where could this lead? I mean, what could this level of understanding unlock in the future of, AI?
Lots of possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Imagine virtual assistants that can really get what you need.
Not just respond to keywords.
Right. They can have these natural conversations with you.
Offer support.
Companionship, something beyond, just doing basic tasks.
It's like having a friend who always gets what you mean.
Even when you don't know how to say it.
Exactly. And what about education?
Oh, yeah.
AI tutors?
AI tutors.
That could adapt to each student's learning style.
Personalized instruction. Make it engaging.
Imagine that would be huge. Especially for students who, maybe don't thrive in a traditional classroom.
It would be a game changer.
Or custom-tailored education.
Designed for everyone.
And then there's storytelling.
Ooh, yeah.
AI could help writers, right? Craft these compelling narratives, maybe even generate whole stories, scripts that are imaginative and emotionally resonant.
Like having an AI co-writer.
Bringing those ideas to life. It could revolutionize how we create and experience stories.
The potential is huge. But we also have to remember, like with any powerful technology,
Right.
there's responsibility.
With great power comes great responsibility.
That's the saying, and it's true here too. We got to make sure this tech is used to empower people.
Not to deceive or manipulate.
We have to think about the ethical side.
The impact on jobs, privacy, even communication itself.
It's a conversation we need to have as a society.
We need to be proactive, make sure these advancements are truly beneficial.
Absolutely, before it's too late.
This research, it's exciting, but a little daunting, too.
It is both.
It's like we're at the edge of a whole new era in how we communicate.
We are.
We have to be careful how we step into it.
But it's going to be fascinating, that's for sure.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of solid and continuous audio representation.
Wow, the time flew by.
We've covered so much, from the technical stuff to the bigger picture.
And it's clear that Salad is really pushing the boundaries in speech synthesis.
It's making us rethink how we interact with machines.
It's been great exploring this with you.
Likewise. And to everyone listening, if you're as fascinated by cutting-edge science and tech as we are,
We hope you are.
join us next time for another episode of The Deep Dive.